بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we continue tonight inshallah with Imam an-Nawawi's 40 hadith, Al-Arba'in an-Nawawi. We stopped on the second hadith, the hadith of Jibril. Hadith of Jibril. And we completed to the fourth pillar of Al-Islam, As-Sawm Shahr Ramadan. The hadith when the man came and he asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is Islam? And the Prophet ﷺ responded with the pillars, the arkan of Islam, the 5 pillars of Al-Islam: to believe in Allah, and tashhad an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah, to take the shahada that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad ﷺ is the messenger of Allah, to establish the salat, to pay the zakat, to fast Ramadan, and the last pillar is Hajj, to make Hajj. And we stopped last week on the fourth pillar, which was to fast the month of Ramadan. We completed the fourth pillar, Ar-Rukn al-Rabi', Sawm Shahr Ramadan. So next the Prophet ﷺ, he responded with Ar-Rukn al-Khamis, Hajj, to make Hajj to the house of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Hajju Bayt Allahi al-Haram man istata'a ilayhi sabila. The fifth pillar in Al-Islam is to make Hajj, to make the pilgrimage to the house of Allah, the Haram, the Kaaba, which is in Mecca, for the one who has the ability. Man istata'a ilayhi sabila, for the one who has the ability. So Shaykh Salih Hafidhahullah, he goes into the definition of Al-Hajj. Wal-Hajj ma'nahu fil lugha al-qasd. The meaning of Hajj in the Arabic language is al-qasd, the intent to do something, to have the intent to do a certain thing, al-qasd. وَأَمَّا فِي الشَّرْعِ, Islamically, the legislative meaning in Al-Islam, فهو قصد البيت الحرام لأداء مناسك الحج والعمرة تقربا إلى الله جل وعلا. It is that a person intends, they make their intention, they go to the house of Allah, the Kaaba in Mecca, in order to perform those rituals of Hajj or Umrah as a form of worship, seeking to get closer to Allah Jalla wa Ala. So Hajj and Umrah are 2 different acts of worship. فَالْحَجُّ وَالْعُمْرَةِ عِبَادَتَانِ لِلَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. They are both 2 different forms of worship. He says, وَلَكِنْ مَكَانَهُمَا وَمَحِلَّهُمَا فِي الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ وَمَا حَوْلَهُ مِنَ الْمَشَاعِرِ. But the only place that a person can perform either Hajj or Umrah is at the Kaaba, Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, at the Kaaba, and those areas surrounding the Kaaba for the different things, different acts of worship that are carried out outside of the actual masjid. Therefore, فَلَوْ أَنَّهُ حَجَّ إِلَى غَيْرِ الْكَعْبَةِ فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ حَجُّهُ. So if a person decided they're going to make Hajj to somewhere other than the Kaaba, right? To make Hajj, the person decides they're going to make Hajj to somewhere other than the Kaaba in Mecca. He said this will never be accepted. The Hajj will never be accepted. It may sound crazy, but there are people who build buildings in their countries, and they call people to make hajj to that building that they build. And I met brothers from different parts of Africa who told me exactly that happened in this country. That they built a building, a black building, and people would go to that building to make hajj. They wouldn't go to the haram in Mecca, but they would go to that building. So hajj and umrah, they have a specific place, and that place is Al-Masjid Al-Haram, which is in Mecca. And for hajj, some other areas that are included in the manasik al-hajj. It says فَتُؤَدَّى مناسك الحج والعمرة عنده وحوله كما أمر الله. So those things, the hajj and the umrah, are carried out in specific areas, just like Allah ordered. Specific areas. وَالْحَجُّ فِي زَمَنٍ مَخْصُوص. But one distinction between the hajj and the umrah is that hajj has a specific time of the year. There's a specific time of the year to make hajj. You can't make hajj anytime you want to make hajj throughout the year. There's a specific time of the year, which are called where hajj can be made. As Allah said, كما قال تعالى in Surah Al-Baqarah, as Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 187, الحج أشهر معلومات. Hajj is made, hajj is performed during those well-known months of hajj. And those months are to be considered according to the Islamic calendar. According to the Islamic calendar. The 10th, the 11th, and the 12th are for the first 10 days of the 12th month. According to the Islamic calendar, not the Gregorian calendar. He says, وَأَمَّا الْأُمْرَةِ فَفِي كُلِّ سَنَةٍ لَيْسَ لَهَا وَقْتٌ مُحَدَّدٌ. But umrah, as we know, umrah can be made any time of the year, all year round. The umrah. But the hajj has a specific time. طيب. Hajj being a pillar, at the same time as a pillar, it's according to one's capability. As Allah said, وَقَالَ تَعَالَى مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا in Surah Al-Imran. In Surah Al-Imran, the 97th ayah. Allah said, for whoever has the ability to go to hajj. Whoever has the ability. وَلَمَّا كَانَ الْحَجُّ يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى النَّفَقَةِ. Because hajj, as we know, costs money to go. وَيَحْتَاجُ إِلَى مَؤُونَةٍ. And it takes a lot. A person may need some, they're leaving their family behind, they're leaving jobs. A lot of things are being left behind. So you might need other people to step up and handle some business while you're going. It's traveling isn't involved. It says فِيهِ مُشَقَّةٌ. Some difficulty is also involved in the hajj. It's not something easy. It's not something as many people who work out, go to the gym, they'll tell you can't physically prepare for this. It's a difficult thing. It says, and due to this, أَشَرَطَ اللَّهُ لِوُجُوبِهِ الْإِسْتِطَاعَةِ. Allah made a condition for hajj on a specific person, al-istita'a, the ability to go. If a person has the ability. So the ability to go is inclusive of two different things. فَالْإِسْتِطَاعَةِ تَكُونُ بِالْمَالِ. It could be a person has the ability, they have to have the ability with their money. They have to have to pay for the hajj trip. Right? Pay to have money to eat while they're there. Also, ability is inclusive of bil-badan, that a person is physically able to handle the hajj, that they're physically able to handle it. The hajj is a lot of walking. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of pushing. It's a lot of shoving. It's a lot of waiting in line to use the bathroom. It's a lot of sicknesses, a lot of coughing going on, a lot of sneezing, a lot of germs. So if a person has to be physically able, so there are two things. The ability to make hajj includes two things: that a person has the monetary wealth to pay for the trip itself, and that a person also has the physical capability of performing the hajj. He says, فَمِنْ اسْتَطَاعَ بِبَدَنِهِ وَلَيْسَ عِنْدَهُ مَالٍ فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ حَجٍّ. So whoever, they can physically handle it, they can physically handle the Hajj, but they don't have the money to pay for the Hajj. Then this person, Hajj is not obligatory on him. Hajj is not obligatory on him. It doesn't mean that Hajj is not a pillar of Al-Islam. And it doesn't mean that the person who doesn't have the money, it doesn't mean that they don't believe the Hajj is not a pillar. No, the person, they don't have the money, but they still believe Hajj is a pillar. Hajj is from the 5 pillars of Islam. For the person who is able and they have the ability, they have to go one time in their life. So the fact that the person doesn't have the money doesn't mean that they don't believe that the Hajj is from the pillars of Islam. What it means is that the Hajj is not obligatory for that person specifically at that point in time. Because if it comes to a point where they do have the money, then it's obligatory on them and they have to make it. So one, a person can have the physical capability, but they might not have the money. Or it could be the opposite. وَمِنْ اسْتِطَاعَ بِمَالِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَسْتَطِيعُ بِبَدْنِهِ. A person could have the money. They have the money to pay for the Hajj, but they don't have the physical capability to perform the Hajj. He says, for this person, فَإِنَّهُ يُوَكِّلُ مَنْ يَحُجُّ عَنْهُ. For this person, they take their money and they designate someone to make the Hajj for them, to go and perform the Hajj for them. So they pay their money, they have the money, but they don't have the physical capability. So they pay someone who does have the physical capability to go and perform the Hajj on their behalf. He says, وَلَمَّا كَانَ الْحَجْ شَاقًا وَبَعِيدَ الْمَكَانِ عَلَى بَعْضِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ يَسَّرَهُ اللَّهُ وَجَعَلَهُ مَرَّةً وَاحِدَةً فِي الْعُمْرِ مَعَ الْإِسْتِطَاعَةِ. With all that considered, that Hajj is far for some people. Everybody doesn't live in Mecca or Medina or even the surrounding countries. So being as though people are traveling from all across the world, places that sometimes you may have never even heard of. He says, Allah made it easy, and He made it only obligatory one time in a person's life. It's only obligatory one time if a person has the ability. And whatever goes after that, whatever Hajj that a person makes after that first Hajj is considered a voluntary act of worship. Tatawwa. It's tatawwa. It is something that is voluntary after the first one. As it comes in the Hadith, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال أيها الناس قد فرض الله عليكم الحج فحجوا. That the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, O people, Allah Jalla wa Ala has made Hajj obligatory on you, so go make Hajj. فقال رجل. So a man said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أكل عام يا رسول الله. Do we have to go make Hajj every year, O Messenger of Allah? فسكت حتى قالها ثلاثا. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was quiet until the man asked him 3 times. Do we have to go every year? He asked him 3 times. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لو قلت نعم لوجبت ولما استطعتم. If I were to say yes, it would be obligatory upon you all to make it every year, and you wouldn't be able to. And this hadith is in Sahih Muslim. So Hajj, alhamdulillah, is obligatory one time in a person's life when they have the ability. طيب, and anything after that, any Hajj that a person makes after that is considered a voluntary act of worship. So next, in the Hadith, the man asked the Prophet ﷺ the second question. ثُمَّ سَأَلَهُ عَنِ الْإِيمَانِ. Secondly, he asked him, what is al-Iman? What is faith? He said, أَخْبِرْنِي عَنِ الْإِيمَانِ. Tell me, what is al-Iman? That we commonly translate as faith. What is faith? What does it mean that a person has faith? What is faith? فَقَالَ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. He responded, the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, he responded, and he said, أن تؤمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وتؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره. He said, He responded to the question, what is Al-Iman? He said, Al-Iman is to believe in Allah, to believe in His angels, to believe in His books, to believe in His messengers, to believe in the last day, and to believe in the divine decree, the good of it and the bad of it. The six, what we call the six articles of faith, or the six pillars of faith. He responded with the six pillars of faith. Iman, the difference we find here is when the Prophet ﷺ was asked, when he was asked, what is Al-Islam? When he was asked, what is Al-Islam? He responded with the actions that are apparent. Those actions that are apparent. The Salat, the Hajj, the five pillars. Hajj, fasting Ramadan, making the Salat, paying the Zakat. But when he was asked about what is Iman, he responded with those things that are in the heart. He says, فَالْإِيمَانُ هُوَ هَذِهِ الْأَرْكَانُ الْبَاطِنَةِ. It is the pillars that are batina, inside, they're internal. Meaning you can't see, you can't look at a person and tell if he believes in the books. You can't look at a person and tell if they believe in the messengers. Right? You don't know who's a Muslim. Sometimes a person doesn't have, they're not wearing a kufi or a thobe or a khimar or whatever. Maybe a bunch of women, none of them are wearing khimar. You can't tell just by looking at a person. So these things are internal. And he responded that Iman, with Iman, his response to Al-Iman was the response with things that are internal. طيب. So Shaykh Salih says the definition of Al-Iman, the definition of faith, lughatan, in the Arabic language, التصديق الجازم الذي لا يعتريه شك. It is the total belief. It is to believe in totality without any doubt in that belief. Faith is to believe without any doubt in the Arabic language. But Islamically, when we say Iman, when we say belief in Allah, we believe in Allah, we believe in this, we believe a believer, then the definition is a little more specific. Definition is a little more specific. He says, وَأَمَّا فِي الشَّرْعِ, as far as the Islamic definition, what it means in Islam, the Islamic definition, he says, فَهُوَ قَوْلٌ بِاللِّسَانِ وَاعْتِقَادٌ بِالْقَلْبِ وَعَمَلٌ بِالْجَوَارِحِ يزيد بالطاعة وينقص بالمعصية وهذا هو الإيمان عند أهل السنة والجماعة. So the people of the Sunnah, and he says this for a reason, the people who follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ define faith with the specific definition. And it's specific because you have people who disagree with this definition. So he says, فَهُوَ قَوْلٌ بِاللِّسَانِ. A person's faith includes more than one thing. It's a statement of the tongue that a person says it with their tongue that they believe. But that's not enough. They have to also, at the same time, they have to believe it in their heart. Or اعتقاد بالقلب. It's a belief in the heart also. Faith is something that we say on the tongue, and it's also something that we hold in our hearts. We believe it in our hearts. And that belief has to be without any doubt. Has to be with no doubt. Bila shak. With no doubt. And belief is also amalan bil jawarih. Actions. Actions are a part of Iman, a person's faith. And so it's not enough for a person just to believe it in the heart, but they don't do any actions. It's not enough. And we find this a lot now. This is like a famous thing. Allah knows what's in my heart. Tayyib. Allah knows what's in my heart. But that's not enough. A believer, Iman, consists of belief in the heart, of course, a statement of the tongue that a person says it. Most times we find people that say, yeah, for example, they say, I'm Muslim, right? But they might not pray. And if you ask them or you talk to them about praying, they say, Allah knows what's in my heart. Assuming that they have the belief in the heart and they have the statement of the tongue, but they have to have action on the limbs. Iman, actions are from faith. You can't leave one off. So first he says it's a statement of the tongue, it's a belief in the heart. Actions on the limbs also. Actions are part of Iman, and he's going to bring the proof from the Quran and the Sunnah. And then he says, Yazidu bit-ta'a. Iman increases with obedience to Allah Jalla wa Ala. A person's faith is strong, gets stronger and stronger the more they obey Allah. The more a person obeys Allah and stays away from sins, the stronger their faith is. He says, and at the end, وَيَنْقُصْ بِالْمَعْصِيَةِ. And Iman decreases. A person's faith is weakened by disobedience. Disobeying Allah weakens a person's faith. And this is the definition of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of the Sunnah. The people of the Sunnah define faith with this definition. And he says exactly after that, خِلَافٍ لِلْمُرْجِئَةِ. And this is in opposition. This definition is in opposition to the definition of the Murji'ah. And the Murji'ah are one of the original groups of innovation. One of the original groups of Ahl al-Bid'ah are the Murji'ah. And the Murji'ah are people who said, الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ. They said about Iman, Al-Iman huwa tasdiq bil-qalb. And there's different levels to the Murji'ah. They're not all on one level. They have some, it's like 4 levels of them. Some of them say, if a person just has faith in their heart that they're a believer, they don't have to do any actions or anything. The fact that there's faith in their heart without even saying anything on the tongue. Some of them say, oh, tasdiq bil-qalb wa nutq bil-lisan faqat. Some of them say, okay, they can say it with their tongue and they believe it in their heart, but they don't have to do any actions. They're still a believer. And this caused a major problem, this type of belief, for the belief of the Murji'ah. And they're from the original, from one of the first groups that innovated in the religion, the Murji'ah. As at the end of the day, the bottom line was that they say that actions are not from faith, that they remove actions from faith. Therefore, a person can be a believer to them. A person can be a believer and they don't have to do any actions. To the Murji'ah. Not that their Iman increases and decreases. They don't have to do anything. As long as they say it with their tongue and they believe it in their heart, then they're believers. And this is the Aqidah. This is the Aqidah of the Murji'ah. And the Murji'ah are one group from Ahl Bid'ah. And all of the Murji'ah are not on the same level. There's different levels within their own group. So it's important to know the definition firstly of the people of the Sunnah. As Sheikh Muhammad used to tell us, Sheikh Muhammad al-Harbi Hafidhullah used to always tell us, learn the Sunnah first. Learn the Sunnah. Learn the Sunnah. And when you learn the Sunnah al-Usul, when you learn the foundations and the fundamentals of the Sunnah, it'll be easier to spot the bid'ah. It'll be easier to spot something that is not from the Sunnah. So, this group, the Murji'ah, لا يدخل العمل فيه, that they remove actions from Iman. Meaning what? To bring it home, a person say, I believe. They say it with the tongue, and they say, Allah knows it's in my heart. Right? And they don't pray. But they do nothing. They don't do any actions to understand. Right? With the Murji'ah, this is okay. With the Murji'ah, this is okay according to their definition of Al-Iman. But to Ahl Sunnah, it's not okay. Because Iman, to the people of the Sunnah, includes a statement of the tongue, a belief in the heart, and actions. Actions are part of Iman. And that the Iman, sometimes it increases if a person is obeying Allah, and it could decrease if a person is disobeying Allah. And there's a whole chapter on the differences between the people of innovation, the Murji'ah, and those like the Murji'ah, and Ahl Sunnah. So he says, this statement of theirs is rejected. This statement is rejected because it's a must that a person performs actions. وَلَا يَكُونُ الْإِنسَانُ مُؤْمِنًا بِدُونِ الْعَمَلِ. A person can't be a believer without performing some type of action. Even if they say they believe it in their heart. Actions have to be performed. It says, وَلَوْ نَطَقَ بِلِسَانِهِ وَلَمْ يَقُمْ بِالْعَمَلِ وَلَيْسَ لَهُ عُذْرٌ يَمْنَعُهُ مِنْهُ فَلَيْسَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ. So if a person, they might say it in their heart. They might say it with their tongue. He said if they don't have an excuse for not performing actions, then they're not a believer. And this could be on different levels. Depending on what they don't do. Depending on what action they leave off. He's going to go into detail. And he brings a hadith here. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الإيمان بضع وسبعون أو بضع وستون شعبة. That Iman, this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. That Iman is 70 something branches or 60 something branches. طيب. He says sallallahu alaihi wasallam فأفضلها قول لا إله إلا الله. The greatest branch of Iman is the statement. The greatest branch of Iman is the statement لا إله إلا الله. وأدناها إماتة الأذى عن الطريق. And the lowest form of Iman is that a person removes something that is harmful, that they move it from the pathway so that people are not harmed by it. So this is from Iman. And then he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. And shyness is also from Iman. Shyness is also from Iman. وهذا حديث فيه أن الإيمان قول وعمل واعتقاد. So in this hadith itself, it shows that Iman is a statement, Iman is an action, Iman is also a belief in the heart. Clear? Is it clear where the statement is in the hadith? He said the greatest for it. He said Iman is 70 something branches or 60 something. Afdaluha, the highest branch of Iman, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said qawl, the statement, la ilaha illallah, which shows that our statements is from Iman. Qawl, Iman is a statement that a person makes. He said the highest branch of Iman is the statement la ilaha illallah. Then he said wa adnaha, the lowest branch of Iman is what? He describes it as an action. He says what? Imatatul adha an al-tariq. And that's an action, that a person physically removes something harmful from out of the road, which is an action. And this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. This is not an explanation of the hadith. This is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, which is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ himself included actions to be from Iman. The Murji'ah come and they say, la, actions are not from Iman. Why? Along with the other ayat that I mentioned that include, and the other dalil that show that actions are from Iman. And then after that, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. Shyness, where does shyness occur? Shyness begins in the heart. Shyness is from Iman. وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. So this hadith itself shows that al-Iman is a statement, an action, and a belief. طيب. He says, فَمَنْ تَرَكَ الْعَمَلِ نِهَائِيًا وَلَمْ يَعْمَلْ مَعَ قُدْرَتِهِ على ذلك وإمكانية العمل فإنه ليس بمؤمن. So whoever leaves off all types of action, they don't do anything. This person is not a believer. They don't do anything. طيب. وأما من ترك بعض العمل فهذا قد يكون كافر وقد يكون ناقص الإيمان. But the person who leaves off some actions, they do some actions and they don't do some actions, then this person, they could be a disbeliever, right? They could be considered to be a disbeliever. This is the person who leaves off some actions and they do some actions. He says they could be a disbeliever and they could be a believer who has weak Iman, or that their Iman is deficient. And this depends on what actions do they do and what actions don't they do. طيب. For example, he says, فَإِذَا تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. So if he leaves off the prayer, person doesn't pray, they're not Muslim. And this is an issue in itself about Tariq as-Salah. There's a whole issue, and there are books written specifically on this one issue of the person who doesn't pray. And as you see, Sheikh Fawzan holds the opinion that the one who leaves off the Salah from this is not a Muslim. This is dangerous. It's dangerous, especially for the Ramadan Muslim who may pray during Ramadan, but after Ramadan they stop praying. It's dangerous. Salam al-afiyah. So, that issue itself, if it is the Salah that is left off, then the person is not considered a Muslim. According to many of the ulama, according to many of the Islamic scholars, leaving off the Salah, abandonment of the Salah, is kufr. And there are hadith that point to it. And it's an issue in itself, the mas'ala tariq as-salah. Tariq as-salah, the one who abandons the Salah, what is the ruling? Are they still Muslim or not? We won't go deep into that, but it's enough of a threat to know. طيب. It says, أما إذا ترك شيء من الأعمال غير الصلاة فإنه يكون مؤمنا ناقص الإيمان. But if a person leaves off something other than the Salah, they leave off something other than the Salah, and he said that they're a believer, ناقص الإيمان. ناقص الإيمان. They're a believer, but their Iman is weak. The Iman is deficient, it's not strong. They're not a strong believer, they're considered a weak believer. And leaving off something other than the Salah could be many things. Could be not fasting. Right? Could be not fasting Ramadan. Do we say they're not Muslim because they didn't fast Ramadan? Huh? We say that naqis of the Iman. Not that it's okay not to fast Ramadan. We're not saying it's okay. We're talking about the ruling on a person. The ruling. As being in America, we might not see this stuff up close, but in a Muslim country, in the court system, if you say that a person doesn't pray, this is considered apostasy. Right? In the courts. If you say a person does certain things, there are repercussions for him. So if a person goes to court, the one who made the claim, they have to bring their proof, their witnesses. Right? Some things could be chargeable by death, maybe. So they have to bring witnesses. Did you see this? You say this person committed fornication. Tayyib, where are your witnesses? This person doesn't pray. They go, they report a person, say, my neighbor doesn't pray. Tayyib. How you know he doesn't pray? It's a whole process. He stole something. Tayyib, how do you know he stole something? It's not like we do. This person's a liar. How do you label a person a liar? Right? There are repercussions. There are repercussions in the Islamic court system that a lot of times, since we don't see them, we might be negligent. But Yawm al-Qiyamah is real. So if a person doesn't get their right in this life, everybody will get their due right on Yawm al-Qiyamah. As Allah doesn't oppress anyone, even though we might oppress each other. If a person goes and they report and they say that Fulan is a fasiq, or he's a hypocrite, or he's this, or he doesn't pray, or he's this, in the court systems, the one who came with the claim is held accountable. Tayyib, what do you have to substantiate that? And if you don't have anything, in some cases, you're going to be held responsible. Now, there's a punishment for you. So, it's a serious thing, especially with the Salah. Tayyib. He says, so Iman, it could be that a person leaves off some action, and they're not even considered Muslim anymore. And it could be that some actions they leave off, and they're still Muslim, but they're considered to be a person of weak Iman. As the people, كَأَصْحَابِ الْكَبَائِرِ الَّتِي دُونَ الشِّرْكِ. Like the people who commit major sins that are not shirk, not the people who commit shirk. people who commit sins less than shirk. That they are considered Muslims, but they are weak in Iman. فالحاصل. So he says that at the end, that there must be a combination of the three for Iman, faith. Al-Iman must be a combination of the three. Al-Iman bil-qalb, belief in the heart, statement of the tongue, and actions of the limbs. And that hadith itself shows that the Prophet ﷺ described Iman, and he gave three different things, one including a statement, one including a belief in the heart, and one including an action. طيب. So this hadith here, or in this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ responded to Iman, he mentioned 6 things, which we know as the 6 articles of faith. But the rest of the things that are not mentioned, the things that are not mentioned in this hadith, he says, فَهِيَ مُكَمِّلَاتٌ لِهَذِهِ السِّتَّةِ أَوْ مُتِمَّاتٌ لَهَا, that they complete a person's religion. Yani, at the least, a believer has to believe in these 6 things. At the least, every Muslim has to believe in these 6. طيب. But from these 6, as he says, he doesn't mention, for example, a sidq fil hadith, being truthful when a person is speaking. Right? This is an action. It's not mentioned in these 6. Right? You with me? But being truthful is a part of Al-Islam. Not lying, being a truthful person, is a part of Al-Islam. It doesn't mean that because it's not mentioned in these 6 pillars, that it's not from the religion. But everything after these 6 is built on top of the 6. The 6 are the foundation of belief. And everything else coming after that complete a person's belief. Everything coming after that complete a person's belief, as he says, وَالْأَمْرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, commanding the good. It's from the perfection of a person's Iman that they command the good. وَالنَّهْيَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and forbidding the evil. It's also from the perfection of a person's Iman that they forbid the evil, according to person's ability. And al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy an munkar itself is a whole, we had a whole semester in school on this, that by itself. Commanding the good and forbidding the evil. That they're levels. And everyone doesn't have the ability to do it in every situation. And if you don't have the ability to do it in a certain situation, how are you supposed to respond? According to the level. You can't walk, for example, you can't walk in this person's house and you see something, you just, I'm going to trash this right now in front of them. Or I'm going to walk into this masjid, I'm going to do this. There are levels to commanding the good and forbidding the evil. It says these things, wasilat al-arham, and keeping good ties with the person's relatives. All of these things are from the religion. They're actions that are from al-Islam. They're not mentioned in the 6 pillars, the 6 articles of faith, the pillars of faith. He says, but they are things that complete a person's Iman. So they're not to be neglected. It's not to be neglected to say that they're not important. But these are the foundations. Every Muslim has to. You can't even be Muslim without believing in these 6. And everything on top of that, he says, tabi'un laha. Everything on top of that, all the other actions, follow these 6, and they complete a person's faith. So after the first thing the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, which is the first pillar, al-rukn al-awwal, al-imanu billah, jalla wa ala, to believe in Allah, jalla wa ala, the belief in Allah. And when Jibril came and he asked the question, and nobody knew him, and he was dressed in all white, nobody knew who he was, he came close to the Prophet ﷺ, he asked him, what is al-iman? He responded, al-iman is to believe in Allah, number 1. This is the asl of al-iman, that a person believes in Allah jalla wa ala, bi-an tu'mina billah wahidun la sharika lah, to believe in Allah jalla wa ala by himself, and that he has no partners, and that he alone mustahiq, huwa al-mustahiq lil-ibada duna ghayrihi, and that he is the only one that is worthy of being worshipped and no one else. Nothing else or no one else is deserving of being worshipped besides Allah Jalla wa Ala. وَتُؤْمِنَا بِأَسْمَائِهِ وَصِفَاتِهِ subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a person believes in Allah's names and His attributes. فَالْإِيمَانُ بِاللَّهِ يَشْمَلْ أَنْوَاءِ التَّوْحِيدِ الثَّلَاثَةِ. Belief in Allah completes, or it encompasses, belief in all of the three aspects of a tawheed. Tawheed al-rububiyyah, Tawheed al-uluhiyyah, or Tawheed al-asma wa sifat. And as he mentions, you'll find that, we'll wait till we get there. طيب. It says, فالإيمان التوحيد الربوبية الإيمان بربوبية الله أن تؤمن بأنه هو المنفرد بالخلق, to believe that He is the only one that creates, that He is the sole creator. He is the sole creator. طيب والتدبير, and He is the sole in control. He controls everything that happens. He's in total control. والإحياء والإماتة, and He gives life and He causes death. لا شريك له في ذلك, وهذا توحيد الربوبية, وهذا قل من يجهده من الخلق. He said this type of tawheed, this section, there are very few people from the creation, not the Muslims, there are very few people who don't believe in this portion of tawheed. Very few. Meaning, even the kuffar that are not Muslim, they believe in this part. Yes, there's one God, there's one creator. Some of them believe, yes, they refer to Him in names that may not be appropriate. They'll say, God sending down a lot of rain today. Right? They know God causes death and God makes the sun rise, and which is from Rububiyyah. They'll agree in this portion, many of them. He says, قَلَّ مَنْ يَجْهَدَ. It's a few. Some even reject this, but you'll find a lot of the Christians will agree. They'll agree with this. They'll agree when we talk about who's in control of everything, who makes it rain, who causes the sun to come up, and the sun and the moon and the earth to spin, and all of those things, who gives life and causes death. A lot of the Christians will agree. Yes, God does that. طيب. He says, فَإِنَّ كُلَّ خَلْقٍ مُؤْمِنَهُمْ وَكَافِرَهُمْ يُقِرُّ بِتَوْحِيدِ الرُّبُوبِيَّةِ. Many of the creation agree with this. The believers and the non-believers. The Muslims and the non-Muslims will agree at this part. And he brings an ayat in the Quran. كَمَا قَالَ تَعَالَى, as Allah says in the Quran, showing, Allah tells us in the Quran that they agree. In Surah Al-Ankabut, ayat number 25, وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَيَقُولَنَّ اللَّهِ. If you were to ask them, who created the heavens and the earth? And khalq, creation, this is from Ar-Rububiyyah. If you were to ask them who created the heavens and the earth, he said they will say Allah. They recognize this. They know. وَقَالَ وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَهُمْ لَيَقُولُونَ اللَّهِ. And if you were to ask them who created them, they would tell you. They will say Allah. And this is in Surah Al-Zukhruf, ayah number 87. So they know this portion, Ar-Rububiyyah. This is not the issue for most, the issue for most. طيب. He says, the fact that they believe in this portion, Ar-Rububiyyah, there's one creator, He makes it rain, He gives life and causes death. He says, هذا وهذا لا يكفي. It's not enough. It's not enough that a person agrees with Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. بل لا بد من الإيمان بتوحيد الألوهية. But a person has to believe in Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. They have to believe that Allah is the only one deserving to be worshipped. بأن العبادة لا يستحقها إلا الله جل وعلا. That worship, none is deserving to be worshipped except Allah. And this is with al-uluhiyyah. Al-uluhiyyah meaning al-ubudiyyah, worship. He says, وَهَذَا هُوَ مَحَطُّ الْخِلَافِ بَيْنَ الْأُمَمِ وَالرُّسُلِ. And this is where a lot of the nations differed with the messenger that came to them, to that specific nation. He says, فَكَثِيرٌ مِنَ الْأُمَمِ يَعْتَرِفُونَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هو الخالق الرازق. Many other nations, they already knew, they agreed, and they would admit that Allah is the creator, and He is the one who provides. They didn't have a problem with that. ويعترفون بالتوحيد الربوبية لكنهم يشركون في توحيد الألوهية. But their problem was that they made shirk when it came to worship. They will recognize that there was one creator. They will recognize and admit, yes, there's one creator, and He causes everything to happen. He gives life. They would admit to all of that, and then they will make shirk with Him. They will worship other than Allah. وَيَعْتَرِفُونَ وَيَعْبُدُونَ مَعَ اللَّهِ غَيْرَهُ. And they will worship other than Allah. Or they will worship Allah and make shirk and worship something or someone else other along with their worship with Allah Jalla wa'ala. And this is where the problem came in. And then he says here, even lately, in the later times, after the Qurun al-Mufaddala, after those virtuous generations that the Prophet ﷺ spoke about, those first three generations, he said there even came to a point, and even now we find that a lot of the Christians, they'll even agree with some of the names and attributes of Al-Asma. God is all merciful. He's the most merciful. The Almighty, right? The All-Knowing. We speak to some Christians, they'll agree. The All-Wise. God knows what's best, right? Which is Asma wa Sifat. Which is Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. But they won't agree when it comes to worship. When it comes to worship, this is where the disagreement comes in. This is where the disagreement comes in. Even though they may agree with us in two aspects when it comes to Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, this is where the problem is. And he says even after those three generations, he started to find people who denied some of Allah's names and attributes. He said, كذلك حدث في القرون المتأخرة. A few in those times after the three virtuous generations, those first three generations, you found people من يجهد توحيد الأسماء والصفات من الفرق الضالة. Some of the innovative groups, the misguided groups who denied some of Allah's names and attributes. Who denied some of Allah's names and attributes. It says, min Jahmiyyah. One group, the Jahmiyyah. And another group, the Mu'tazila. And another group, the Ash'ariyah. And other than those groups, and we won't go into the details, but there appeared groups who even started to deny Allah's names and attributes. So it's important, firstly, it's important to know the statements and the belief of Ahl Sunnah, number one, so that a person knows and they understand when something is outside of the Sunnah. The problem we have now is that a lot of people don't learn the basics of the Sunnah, so they don't know what's Sunnah and what's not Sunnah. So they assume anything that they don't know isn't Sunnah. But if you learn the usul of Sunnah first, if you learn what is the Sunnah first, it'll become clear what's not from the Sunnah. But if you just learn it sporadically, information here, information all over the place, you don't really have anything fathomed in front of you or memorized, or you don't have anything with you to keep you balanced. Okay, what can I gauge? You don't have a gauge. So people use the gauge. If I don't know it, it must not be from the Sunnah, which is a faulty gauge, as everybody's level of knowledge differs. طيب. He says, secondly, moving on, الركن الثاني الإيمان بالملائكة. In this hadith, brothers, this hadith, there are whole books. There are books specifically on this one hadith. This is one of the longest hadith in the book, the Hadith Jibril. This is one of the longer hadith. But, la bas, there's no problem. There are whole books written on this one hadith. And he actually shortened it in this book, not to make the book too lengthy. But there are whole books separate by themselves explaining this one hadith. It says, so the second pillar of Iman, Al-Imanu bil-Malaika, belief in the angels. فَتُؤْمِنُوا بِأَنَّهُمْ خَلْقٌ مِّنْ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. So we believe that the angels are a creation. They're created. They're from the creation. And also that Allah created them from nur, from light. مِن جُنُودِهِ وَخَلَقَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنَ النُّورِ. They're created from light. كما جاء في الحديث, as is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, خُلِقَتْ الْمَلَائِكَةُ مِن نُورٍ, where he said the angels were created from light. The angels were created from light. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim. So, we believe in the angels, and anything that came in the Quran and the Sunnah that specifies something about the angels, we believe in all of the details that came about the angels. Whether it's their name, whether it's a certain look, a number, a job that they do, any details that come, we believe in those details that came in the text. وَمَلَائِكَةُ جَمْعُ الْمَلَكِ is a plural. Malaika is the plural for Malik. Malaika are angels. Malik, with a fatha, is an angel. وَالْمَلَكْ هُوَ الرَّسُولُ. An angel is considered to be a messenger. An angel is considered to be a messenger. لِأَنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ رُسُلٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ, because they are messengers that Allah sent. Allah sent these messengers, Jalla wa ala, ila ibadihi, to His worshippers. As Allah says in Surah Al-Hajj, Allahu yastafi min al-malaikati rusulan wa min al-nas, that Allah chose, or He chooses messengers from the angels, and He chooses messengers from the people. And there He says, hum asnaf, that they have different jobs, they have different names. فَجِبْرِيل مُوَكَّل بِالْوَحِي, for example, Jibril alayhi salam is responsible for the revelation. That was his responsibility. So we believe Jibril is the angel responsible for the revelation. وَمِيكَائِيل مُوَكَّلٌ بِالْقَطْرِ وَالنَّبَاتِ, إِسْرَافِيل مُوَكَّلٌ بِالنَّفْخِ فِي الصُّورِ, Israfil is responsible for the blowing into the trumpet. وَمِنْهُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ, the angel of death, that is responsible for بِقَبْضِ الْأَرْوَاحِ, he's responsible for taking the souls of the people when they're commanded to do so. Some of us respond, and they all have different, those who have the different responsibilities, we believe in those specific responsibilities that are mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. If they're mentioned by name, we believe that that's their name. Everything that comes with detail, we believe in detail. If they're mentioned in general, we still believe in them in general. Whatever is mentioned specifically according to the text is the belief. That's almost the event, right? We'll stop there until next Sunday, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We'll pick up with the rest on the angels. It's not that long. And the third pillar, which is the belief in the kutub, belief in the books, al-munazzala. Inshallah.